All right, guys, so today we're going to work on this 2013 Toyota Highlander. We're going to be doing the front brakes and rotors. In a full disclaimer, this one is not a hybrid. This one is a regular, plain old Highlander, not a hybrid. And I believe somewhere around this generation they came out with the regenerative braking. And it may or may not be different than this one. So be sure you check if you have a hybrid or don't have a hybrid. This one is not a hybrid. But we're going to be doing the front brakes. We're going to be doing this side here. But the first thing we're going to do is set the part. So as is with any vehicle, when you jack it up, you go ahead and set that part brake. So I don't know about all of them, but on this particular wheel, these lugs are a little strange on how they work. So what I do is I back them out and then with the impact, and then finish the rest by hand, because the wheel sort of sets in the lug nut, and I'll show you sort of when I get it done. I'm going to time lapse how I get it off, and then I'm going to show you the lug nut and sort of why I do it by hand at the very end. So I'm not sure if you can see or not, but you're not really able to get the lug nut on the thread itself because of how these wheels are shaped. You see how it's got that larger diameter circle than the stud is, and the lug nut itself sort of shows that. And in my opinion, it's easier to sort of get it loose and then by hand undo it and get your feet sort of underneath the wheel so you can lift it up. And in my opinion, that's easier. So a little tip. But let's go ahead and get this wheel. All right, so our wheel is off. Go ahead, and I know you're going to say, why am I stopping right now? Go ahead and stop right now, because the way that these brakes work on this one is a little bit different than like your American vehicles. This clip right here. Go ahead and take you a few pictures of this and how it goes in. I'm going to put it back in, but go ahead and take a picture of this one. If you can't see very well on my camera, it's the one on the top. There isn't one on the bottom. There's one on the top. You're going to want to take a picture of that and sort of how it goes in, and I'll show you why here in just a second. But currently there are, excuse me, two. I believe they're 14 millimeters. If I'm incorrect, I will change it on the screen. Two 14 millimeters, one here and one down here. Now, of course, I'm going to show from the back side. And there's two 17 millimeters. There's one there, and there's one there. The easiest way to do, even if you're just doing the pads, is to still take the bracket off. So even if you're only doing pads on this and you're not doing the rotor also, go ahead and take the bracket off. It'll make your life so much easier because of this clip and other things. So we're going to go ahead and take these off. All right, let's go ahead and do this. There's that one. Let's break loose the bottom one before I whop myself in the face. There we go. Woo! All right. Do these together, and then once I get this caliper off, I'm going to show you sort of why it's so much easier to get the bracket off as well. If it'll come out, sort of work it back and forth by hand. I'm going to go ahead and run a zip tie through this guy here so that I will have a place to zip tie it to the spring here in just a second. All right. There's that and that. All right, so here's a better look at that clip that I was talking about. Also, you have two springs in here. They're sort of clips and they spring in together. We can go ahead and take all this apart, but it's so much easier to get it all back together once you take this bracket off. And this clip here is sort of aggravating. There we go. I was actually able to keep it on that time. And this back one, it just sort of slides out the back. And then ta-da, and we're going to take this bracket off now. There's that. And then break this one loose. If I can get it on there, there we go. Oh yeah, good way to bust your fingers up. Good job there, Chris. Bust your fingers up real good. All right, and then with your other hand, go ahead and hold your bracket because it's going to fall as soon as you get this bolt out here. There it is. All right, bracket's out. All right, so as I said before, even if you're just doing the pads themselves, it's so much easier to just go ahead and take this bracket out. Like I said, because you gotta have these clips on here. So if you can see, just sort of line up the one you're going to go with and put you a new clip on what you got. So they're very easy to get on there. So go ahead and grab you a new pad, which I have one here. See, there's no clip on it. Here is my new clip. And just sort of line it up how this clip goes. I hope that's picking up. It may or may not be. And it's going to go like that. And it's not going to go on very easy. I'm going to have to two-hand it because if you can tell, it's sort of tapered. So it goes in like that. Once I get it on, I will pick it back up. But there's no way I can do it on camera and show you. I just don't have a tripod or an angle to do so. All right, actually, I'm going to try to do it sort of in the back of my truck here. So here's our new pad, and here's our new clip, and you're just sort of going to clip it on there. There is like a little indentation, and you can see it, and you just sort of smash and press. Now, what I like to do so I don't ruin everything is take me a screwdriver, a flathead, and smash it on. I don't know if you heard that clip, but it actually clicked when it went into place. I'm going to do one on the front and one on the back, but I'm only going to show you how to do this one on the front here. Okay, now we're back to the bracket. If you look, there's like a little indentation right there. What you're going to want to do is sort of line that up with your indentation, and you're probably going to have to use your flathead again, like so, and then smash both sides in. All right. And you can, if you put too much pressure on here, you're going to push it all the way through. There's nothing on the back stopping it from folding in on itself. So you want to get that clip in there, set it like that. I'm going to go ahead and do the one on the back. We'll pick it right back. All right, so I got the back in, and you can see I do have my clip on right there. It goes in the exact same way as the one on the front. And like I said, you can tell there's nothing there sort of preventing you from collapsing them onto each other. What we're going to do now is take our little spring here, and there are two holes on each side. So there's one, and there's the other one. So you're going to line these two up, and there's one there and one there. You can compress them with some difficulty. It's not like the hardest, but compress it and line them up, and they're going to sit like that. And then let's go ahead and do our second one here. And you want them like facing each other, if that makes sense. There we go. As you can see, they're sort of facing each other. I'm not too worried about it being angled right now because it's going to go on the caliber and sort of straighten itself out here in the next little bit. All right, so now with the rotor, my rotor came loose again. I got, stinking lucky with these things here lately. Take the old one off, and then put the new one on. There are no, I have screw holes to sort of line them up, but there's no screws on these, on this particular thing to hold the rotors in. So, got lucky again. But the rotor's now on. Let's go ahead and get our bracket on. All right, now the bracket itself is pretty easy to get back on, but you got to be mindful of all your hardware that you just sort of put on there. There we go. Because you don't want to, lose a spring or something. I'm gonna go ahead and put the camera in the back because I'm on. I just got to get my bolts lined up. All right, so I got my bolts lined up. We're gonna go ahead and just tighten everything down in the back here. All right, so this whole time we have had the caliper, or the caliper, zip tied to the spring the whole time. We're gonna go ahead and undo it and put a C-clamp on these. I like the angle I'm at right now. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put a C-clamp on it as it is. You want to put an old pad in here first and then tighten it down. You don't really want to push sort of in there, you know, you could damage things. So we're not gonna damage anything, put an old pad on there. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and take our C-clamp, and one at a time, we're gonna do this side, and then we're gonna do that side there. It's just too hard to do this one-handed, and so I'm gonna go ahead and crimp down my C-clamp on this side, undo it, and then crimp it down on the other side to sort of smash the caliper in. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put everything back together. Sort of be mindful of all your your springs and your clips and your things that you just put on there. And we're going to go ahead and line everything up and then put our 2 bolts in the back. All right, so forgive me if I try to get this on here and I make some sounds and noises and things. Oh shoot, these are not the easiest to sort of line up here. I'm going to blame it on all the hardware that they made you put in here, those little springs and clips and things like that. Actually, that really wasn't that bad today. Or this time, I should say. This is the hardest part. The best thing to do here with these bolts is line up one, sort of get it started. That way you'll have a reference point as to where the second one goes. And it doesn't matter if you can line up the top or if you can line up the bottom, whichever one you line up first. I just wouldn't torque it down until you've got both bolts started. Once you have both bolts started, that's when I would torque it down, but I would not do so until you have them both started. But that's in there. All right, now looks like all we gotta do is torque them down here. I'm just gonna give it a good old, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. I know somebody out there is going to be like, oh, this is supposed to be 987,000 foot-pounds. Well, you know what? That ain't going nowhere. There we go. Yep. Ain't going nowhere. All right, so last but not least, we're going to go ahead and get the tire back on again. Remember these crazy lug nuts that are going to fight you. Just by the way they're made. Again, the best way I can figure out how to do this is get a foot up there and get the first one started sort of by hand. And then once you got the first one sort of, oops, as I pulled the whole wheel off, once you got the first one good and in there and started, then you can sort of relax on the rest of it. Alright guys, so that is brakes on this 2013 Toyota Highlander. Again, this one is not a hybrid. You better check on the hybrids to see if they're any different, because somewhere around here they came out with regenerative braking on these Toyotas. And, you know, you want your easy job, makes you look like you've done something. This is definitely the one. I even cracked myself up pretty good. Only once though, so not a bad deal. But that's how you do the front brakes and calipers, or front brakes and rotors, I should say, front brakes and rotors on a 2013 Toyota Highlander. Hope it helps. Thank you much.